Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon. It's National Ego Awareness Day, Tony. Are you aware of your ego?
Please. Tony Kornheiser has no ego.
You sounded like Ricky Henderson just
Is that right?
Yeah.
When Ricky would come to the ballpark and say, Ricky don't need no press today. Right, now, I like to talk to you, Ricky. Ricky don't need no press today.
But then he would talk for
An hour and a half.
Yeah,
Hour and a half.
great.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Knicks sweep the Sixers. The Wizards win the draft lottery, and Tarik Skubal could return sooner than expected. But we begin today with Victor Wembanyama being ejected in the second quarter of yesterday's Spurs-Timberwolves game for elbowing Naz Reid in the throat. Wembanyama was given a flagrant 2 and the heave-ho. Minnesota went on to win a close game, 114-109, to even that series at 2-2. Wilbon, what do you make of the incident and the fallout?
Well, the incident is fascinating, Tony, because we're dealing with, from all appearances, a very mature young man here who did an immature thing out of frustration, right? This happens in any sport. It's just basketball. It happens in any and every sport. But Wembanyama, I mean, we're watching him so closely. You know, he swings his elbow. Whether it was malicious or not doesn't matter. It was reckless, it was dangerous, and he had to be tossed. It's a flagrant 2 by definition.
Right. That's right.
Period.
Right.
Now, then we deal with the rest of it. You know, I've told you my one reservation about San Antonio is everybody's reservation. They're inexperienced. There are going to be some places where they fall short because they don't know what this playoff basketball thing is all about. I thought their coach was guilty of that. I thought Victor was guilty of that. The players covered for him. They played brilliantly without him afterward. Right. I mean, I thought that matters. But I don't think there should be, and there apparently will not be any further suspension or punishment. But this was a thing that Victor, he better not do it again because he cost his team, in all likelihood, a game. That is a sign of immaturity.
We will get to all of these things as we keep talking about this. I was lucky enough to have watched that live when it happened. And it appeared to me that Wembanyama was caught in a Timberwolves sandwich.
Yeah,
he was being fouled on both sides.
Yes,
so if a referee had blown the whistle earlier, maybe this thing could have been avoided. But it was a flagrant 2. There's no question about that. What is interesting is if he were the same size as Naz Reid, that elbow goes in the chest.
It does.
But he's so much bigger that it goes in the guy's head. You know, and what are you supposed to do about that? And it looked to me, and you and I differ on this, it looked to me like there was anger in the intent. It did, okay? Now,
I wouldn't argue against that.
I am glad that he's not being suspended for Game 5. To me, them losing Game 4, basically without him for 2.5
was
quarters.
The punishment.
That is punishment enough and suspension enough as far as I'm concerned. But this is a message that is being sent to everybody. Wembanyama is being fouled. Wembanyama is being maltreated out there. Okay? Now, you can't react that way.
No.
Minnesota's going to continue to do this in the hopes that he hits another guy and then he's going to be out for the series.
Yeah.
He's going to be out for the series. But it also should send a message to referees that there can't be multiple standards for fouls. In the course of the NBA, you and I have seen this. We have seen Wilt and Shaq get beaten up.
Yes.
And nobody calls
years.
anything. So that in the case of Wembanyama, who's not as big and strong, is as big, not as strong as them, everybody has a certain amount of jeopardy here. I will say this, and I know you will agree with me. In the aftermath of the incident, it was so intriguing. He sat down quietly as they waited to review the film. He turned to a teammate and said, "Am I being ejected?"
Yeah.
When he was informed he was being ejected, he got up calmly and walked out. He didn't flex. He didn't howl. He didn't taunt anybody. He accepted the punishment. I was impressed.
But that's why I said
impressed.
He's a very mature young person, seems to be, who did something immature.
Got to learn from it.
And overly emotional. And he can't, listen, there's so much riding on him. We're not, we talk about the faces of a league.
He could be.
He's the face.
He could be. Well, not
Tony,
right now.
He's becoming it right now.
Within a year and a half, within 2 years. Certainly possible. Let's stay with the NBA and move to the other NBA game from yesterday. Your Knicks scored 144 points on the 76ers in Philadelphia. They could have scored 170. This game was almost as lopsided and as unwatchable as the Knicks in Game 6 in Atlanta. The Knicks sweep this series. They now have 7 playoff wins in a row. Wilbon, does this wipeout say more about the Knicks or the Sixers?
The Knicks. I mean, the Sixers did a good job by beating Boston in the series. They got a series when None of us thought they were going to get that series, but they did. They were able to get Embiid out there, which coming into the playoffs, we didn't particularly think after the appendectomy that he was going to be out there.
That's right.
They got, George, they got the three of them out there for a little bit. And game 2, which I think they should have won in Madison Square Garden, even that series, once the Knicks pulled away with that, there was no stopping them, runaway train. The offense is now nuclear. They've made changes. I'm giving the Knicks credit here. Mike Brown has made subtle changes that his players have bought into. Karl Anthony Towns becoming a point center and having assist games of 10, several of 7 or more, but 10. Ball movement, not stagnation, which happens sometimes with my man Jalen Brunson. No, different Knicks offense going to everybody almost equally, not quite equally. They are the second best team in the NBA playoffs after Oklahoma City.
Okay. So I am going to reluctantly agree with you that it says more about the Knicks because the way they are playing now. We are seeing something that we have never seen before, and there's some numbers to back this up. The Knicks are plus 194 in the playoffs so far. In 10 games, plus 194, which includes 2 games that they lost, but they only lost by 1 point apiece. In the history of the NBA playoffs, this is the largest point differential of all time. Of all time. So they're playing great. But I think it says a lot about the Sixers, and I'm going to dwell on them. It says a lot about their failed management. It says a lot about their dopey slogan, trust the process. They have committed an incredible amount of money to Paul George and Joel Embiid. $112 million between them next year, $119 the year after that. That's $231 million for these two
nobody's
people.
Trading for that.
And to get swept by the Knicks. And these are contracts all signed, and I know you love them, by Daryl Morey. And I want to talk about it. I know you love Joel Embiid.
I do.
And Joel Embiid is a player, when he's healthy, is a wonderful player. It's infrequent that he's healthy, right? It's infrequent.
Inescapable fact.
Right. So Joel Embiid has to take some responsibility for what happened to the 76ers.
Yeah.
He is the only NBA MVP ever to have not yet reached a conference final, ever, and I stress ever. His contemporaries at center, which include Giannis Antetokounmpo and Nikola Jokic, they have rings. He hasn't gotten to a conference final yet. What we see mostly with him recently is him on the ground holding his leg and not stopping anybody from scoring. He played yesterday. The Knicks were up 81-57 at the half and 122-83 at the third.
They're not close. Can I just take a second to take a shot at fraudulent town that you like, Philadelphia?
You can.
Who
I love
can't
Philadelphia.
even bother to go to the game. They let the Knicks overrun them. Would Boston let that happen? No. Would Chicago let that happen? No.
Would
Detroit?
Washington?
No.
Yes.
Washington doesn't matter. Philadelphia is a fraud as a sports city. It is. Because when everything's going their way, they want to run their mouths on WIP and they want to get in your face and they want to get chesty and they can go to jail in the bottom of their stadiums.
Well,
they're a fraud. They're a fraud. Philadelphia, as a sports town, they let New York come in there and just run them over.
But you agree
please.
There's responsibility here for Joel Embiid. There's some responsibility here.
Joel Embiid, the whole team, the whole thing.
Yes.
It's just I was expecting something of a series after game 2 was close. No series. None.
Nope.
Good for the Knicks. Let's move to yesterday's prom for the also-rans. Tony's Washington Wizards won the NBA draft lottery and will pick first in the June draft, followed by the Jazz, Grizzlies, Bulls, and Clippers. Tony, after railing against the Wizards, tanking for years, you've killed them.
I did.
How do you feel about them winning the top pick, and what should this draft do for them and the other teams with top 5 picks?
I live inside the boundaries of Washington, D.C. It's always better when your teams win.
Yeah.
The 4 major league teams in Washington, D.C. in this past season, none of them made the playoffs. 3 of them had losing records. I want the Washington Wizards to be a good team. But I find it disgraceful that after deliberately losing games for years, after deliberately tanking, that they end up with the number 1 pick. They cheated the people who buy tickets. They cheated the game.
How does that separate
they cheated
them from the others?
I'm not. You asked me about them.
Okay.
I'm not separating them from Utah or somebody else. I would say the same thing had somebody else won the number 1 pick. They did this with complicity with the owner, who would have said, I don't want to do it this way. Like they say in the Pittsburgh Steelers, we try to win every game. That didn't happen here, all right?
But now that they have tanked and gotten this pick, what happens
They get the reward which stinks. Let me go a little bit further here. Adam Silver makes an announcement that tanking is bad, and next year we're going to change it. No. Change it this year. The rule is bad, change it this year. What happens? Everything depends on who they pick. Michael Winger, who runs a basketball operation, is being congratulated for getting the number 1 pick. He'll be run out of town if he picks badly on the number 1 pick.
Hard to pick badly this time.
They had,
a lot of
the
guys.
last time they had a number 1 pick was John Wall, who scored a lot of points, didn't make his teammates better, and ended up being paid not to play by another team. Before that, Kwame Brown, disaster. That was a disaster. So it's, yes, there are a lot of really good players here, but you got to get the right one.
You got to get the right one, but you can get the right one if you pick anywhere in the top 5. I'm going to go to what the Wizards will likely think.
That's fine.
DeBanza,
Yep.
who was left BYU after his freshman year, seems to be, from conversation, anecdotally, the guy that more people than not think is the best player.
And who Utah wants desperately.
And Utah wants desperately, yes. And he has said, I want to stay in Utah.
Do you think he can pull an Eli Manning? A John Elway?
Well, if you're the Wizards, you could say, give me Keontae George or Ace Bailey and let's flop picks, and you can have DeBanza if you have them. Caleb Wilson rated that highly, and then you could draft him. Acuff, who you like all year.
I do.
Peterson, who I'm confused by, and it scares me, even though his talent is undeniable. Cam Boozer.
Who I know you don't like as much as others do. You don't.
His father's 2 teams are picking 2nd and 4th. Utah and Chicago, going to be interesting. And Wagler, who we both like, from Illinois, the playmaking 6'5" kid. Tony, there's enough people. There'll be Euros and African kids and Asian kids in this draft.
But is there a Wembanyama in the draft?
No,
there is not.
There's no Wemby.
No, there's not.
But DeBanza.
I know, you've loved him all year.
I like him as much as Cooper Flagg.
Cooper Flagg's a great pick and has had a great year on a terrible team that was destroyed by a dopey trade. Yeah. Let's take a break. Coming up, the Sabres get stomped by the Canadiens.
Tarik Skubal, maybe back sooner than thought. Due to a new procedure, your boy Scott Boras is named after his client.
My boy.
You and Scott so tight.
They should make the playoffs next year, the Wizards. If they don't, it's a failure. Not win a round, but just make the playoffs. They got a 2, they got a 1, they got Trae Young and Anthony Davis.
Trae Young. They should make.
Time to find out what's moving the multitudes in mail time. I'll put on my glasses. I'll get the first one.
Mail time?
Multitudes.
Presumptuous on our part.
NHL playoffs. Here we go. Which second round Stanley Cup series stands out to you the most?
Well, the one that stands out is one I'm actually watching a little bit of and paying attention, and that would be Montreal and Buffalo. I can't sit here and tell you why. I should hate the Canadiens. They spoiled the Blackhawks twice in my childhood, winning Stanley Cups, once in a Game 7. I should hate Le Canadien, but I don't. There's something charming about them. I can't root for Toronto, and I can't root for Edmonton because they're not actually in it anymore. Right. And so I find myself rooting for Montreal, not against Buffalo. But that series is chippy now. There was too much piling on and skirmishing and going after each other and fighting in that series. So I don't like that part. But wow, Montreal scored some goals. Not a 9-goal outburst, but they got 6, including.
Okay, speaking of a 9-goal outburst, my first inclination was to talk about the Colorado-Minnesota series because of all the goals.
Right.
The games are 9-6, 5-2, 5-1. It's an astonishing amount of goals in the playoffs. In the playoffs. It's just too many.
And they're considering what to do about their goaltenders.
Montreal and Buffalo hasn't appealed to me. I just think because both teams are very likable. But I cannot rate anyone over Carolina. The Carolina Hurricanes are killing people. You think the Knicks are killing people? Yeah. Carolina's 8-0. The Knicks are 8-2. Carolina's goal differential is 24-10. They've allowed 10 goals in 8 games. This is the first time in like 57 years in the NHL that a team has swept the first 2 series in a 7-game format situation. You know, so I mean, I look at this. I don't want to root for a so-called Sun Belt hockey team. I don't, but come on. And they're playing great. They're playing great.
Last one. I can root for Buffalo, whoever survives that series. Yeah. The Skubal Scope.
Yeah.
How could the Skubal Scope change things for Tarik, the Tigers, and baseball?
The Skubal Scope is a word invention, of course, of Scott Boras, who may or may not be the devil, but that's irrelevant here. This is What happened was we expected Skubal to be out 2 to 3 months while they removed floating bodies from his arm.
Yeah.
And Boris called Dr. Neil Elatrash, who you may remember from Tom Brady. He was Tom Brady's surgeon at one point, and if anything happens to me, I'm calling the guy as well. And he went in there and in some way did this not as vast an operation as was expected.
It's not as intrusive.
Yes, and now it is said that Skubal could come back in 4 to 6 weeks. Okay, now
Just in time before the trade deadline.
yes, I understand all of that. So what this talks to me about, because that's amazing, 4 to 6 weeks, is medical science advancements.
Yeah.
And maybe the key, first of all, pitchers had Tommy John. They didn't have Tommy John for a long period of time, and now you can get it, and now you can come back. You get it twice and can come back. May not be as good, but you can come back. If the Skubal scope is successful in that regard, you can keep your velo and be back in 6 weeks, right? So this may be the future for pitchers. And by the way, would you rather?
Boris is not hyping here.
Well, if he gets his guy back in 4 to 6 weeks and he's heading into free agency, who wouldn't take that?
Everybody would take it.
Right.
And by the way, so the Tigers still will have that decision to make.
They're not
Do we
trading
stay
him.
with this?
The American League's so bad you can
It's
get in
really
the playoff.
bad.
You can
It's really
win.
bad.
You
Yeah, but
can
we
win.
got a lot of time between now and the trade deadline. They could still trade him, and a team could say after this procedure, because it's not so intrusive that he can't come back quicker. We can see him for a couple of starts. We can know what we're getting this summer.
These are audition starts, in effect.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but
And it's him. It's Skubal. Come on now.
that's enough email. Let's take one last break. Still to come, will the Thunder sweep out the Lakers tonight? You kidding me with that question? Really?
And a few thoughts on the life and times of Bobby Cox.